Everybody faces the common challenge of how to establish credibility in the introduction of a public speech, presentation, or video. The question is this: how do you establish credibility with an audience when you're not the world's leading authority on a topic? What if I told you it doesn't matter that you're not an expert on the topic that you want to talk about? It just doesn't matter. You don't even have to have a PhD or even 2 master's degrees, 4 postgraduate certificates, and years of experience teaching over 1,000 college students how to create and deliver over 2,000 speeches. Well, that certainly helps in my case, but you don't need a certain level of education to be credible, even on the most complex topics, if you do it right. In this video, I'm going to reveal to you 3 ways to create a credibility statement in the introduction of your speeches, along with a great bonus on how to establish and maintain your credibility throughout your delivery. When I would ask my own students how they can establish their own credibility, I usually had a room full of shoulder shrugs and the look that shows they had no idea. Then someone would almost always ask the question, does confidence count? Of course it does, but with proper inflection. Confidence definitely helps add to your believability and the passion you should show in your delivery, but it still doesn't establish real credibility, especially in the introduction of your speech. Keep in mind that when you walk to the front of the room to stand up in front of a live audience, or someone first sees you in your video, they have no clue as to who you are or what your background is. If you follow the plan in designing a good introduction for any public speaking presentation, you already know that you first have to gain your audience's attention. Then immediately state the relevance of why someone should listen to your speech, and then seamlessly add a statement that helps establish your credibility that you are knowledgeable on the topic and will be providing valuable information that's well worth knowing more about. Of course, right after that, there's the thesis statement and the preview of your main points that you can learn more about by watching the videos on those topics linked in the description. Before we get into the ways that can help you establish your credibility in the introduction of your speech, even when you think you have none, we need to talk about a couple of ways that can quickly and easily ruin your credibility. The number one way to destroy your overall credibility and have to deal with the consequences of plagiarism is to not mention your references. When citing facts, statistics, quotes, or published information that you collected during your research, you have to state where it came from and give credit to where credit is due. Always, always, always mention your references out loud. And if you're not sure how to properly cite them out loud, just remember these 2 words: according to. I'll say them again: according to. To learn more about how to avoid plagiarism, you should also watch the video linked in the description that'll show you how to do that. The fastest way to ruin your credibility right at the beginning of your presentation is to say something like this: I'm really nervous and I've never done this before, so be patient with me. I'm not really sure if the references I picked for this topic are okay. I couldn't find any good references, so you'll just have to take my word for it. And one of the worst ones is, I'm not really into this topic, but stop. Seriously, stop. I've witnessed these and so many other self-doubting statements, and it was usually because the speakers didn't prepare their outline properly and failed to ask for help so I could work with them to find out and establish a credibility statement that works for them and their specific speech topic. By the way, coming up with a good credibility statement can take some time, and to ask for someone else's assistance or opinion is always a good thing. The first way to come up with a strong credibility statement is to share your own personal experiences that you've had with your topic. To be able to describe what you experienced firsthand and share what you went through with others is a great way to also establish a strong connection with your audience. To keep the credibility statement short and concise, all you have to do is state something like this: ever since I was a kid, I've been doing this. Or, over the past several years, I've been involved in. Or, my entire life has been about this. This is a good one. When the doctor told me to lose weight or suffer the consequences, I paid attention, and so should you. When talking about your own personal experiences to establish your credibility, you may end up wanting to share perhaps what should be considered private information that might be best to not share with others depending on the topic and who your audience is. Consider that there are some sensitive topics that some audiences will react well towards, and others, well, they're just going to tune you out and ignore you, or even possibly mock you verbally, or worse, even though that's not cool. The bottom line with using personal experience to establish credibility in the introduction is that it's good, but you need to know your audience and their possible reactions and responses to what is very personal to you. And don't be afraid to talk about your own education and training. They can quickly establish your credibility too. The second way to establish credibility with your audience is to let them know that you performed enough research to discover interesting and accurate information on the topic. This statement could sound something like this: I spent several hours researching this topic, and this is what I found to share with you. Or, while researching this topic, I uncovered so much information, and unfortunately, I can only provide you with a portion of it in the limited time I have. Or, I've been interested in this topic for years and wanted to share with you the latest updates I discovered while researching it. Be confident in stating that you took the time to research for good information that supports your work, that shows you care enough about your audience, that can make a big difference in how they react to your speech. Research not only helps you in coming up with a solid credibility statement, but can also increase the believability factor of your speech, as well as increasing your score if presented in the classroom for a grade. Don't forget that research is a necessary step in public speaking, and all too often sounds like work. Well, because research is work. You should watch the video linked in the description to learn more about how and why research doesn't have to be dull and boring. The third way to quickly establish your credibility in your introduction is to interview experts and then tell your audience about it right away. When you take the time to interview experts or professionals who are directly involved with your topic, two things happen. The first is that the believability of what you're saying goes up, and it shows your audience that you went above and beyond what the majority of most speakers don't do or won't do. When stating that you interviewed someone for your speech, a good credibility statement could sound like this: after speaking with an expert on this topic, I'm able to give you an insider's perspective. Or, I was able to interview someone directly involved with what I'm about to tell you, and what they told me was a real eye-opener. To be able to bring insider information into a conversation not only adds to the overall impact of your speech, but it can also serve you well in your own exploration of that topic. Besides, you may be making a new connection in your personal network of people who can help you out later too. A warning about interviewees that want to remain anonymous. Don't use them in a setting that requires you to cite who you spoke with. If this situation arises in an upcoming project, contact me and I'll help you with how to work around that situation the best I can. Speaking of working with you, I would truly appreciate it if you could take just 2 seconds to support what I do by smashing that thumbs up and consider subscribing. That lets me know that I'm doing a good job, and it also tells the YouTube algorithm that my tips and advice are credible and worth sharing with others to help my channel grow too. I truly appreciate it. Thanks. Here's that bonus I told you about on how to establish your credibility in your introduction and then maintain it throughout your delivery. It's all about your physical presence and your delivery style. This includes the tone of your voice, your volume, your inflection, eye contact, posture, and depending on the setting of where and how your delivery is being presented, what you're wearing. Clothing can be a touchy area due to available finances and wardrobe availability. Believe me, I get it. I personally never took points off of any of my students for what they wore, or lack of what they were wearing. But there are teachers who will demand a certain level of dress, and there are certainly situations that you need to really think about what you're wearing and what intentional or unintentional message you're sending. Preferably, you use clothing as a tool to reinforce what you're talking about. Think about it. Once you learn how to seamlessly add your credibility statement into the introduction of your speech, that, by the way, comes after the attention getter and relevance statement, you'll start to feel more confident about your upcoming delivery. I'll link the video in the description that deals with key preparation strategies and delivery methods that reveals ways on how to use nonverbal communication skills to increase your success in public speaking, along with all the other videos. There's quite a few of them, including this one, where I'll show you how to write a thesis statement in 4 fast and easy steps to take the stress and confusion out of that process for your next speech, presentation, or video. Remember that my goal is that your success is the goal in school, work, and life beyond. I'll see you online soon.